welcome everyone. Episode 20, I believe. I haven't shot an episode in about 3 months now, so sorry about that. Had to finish up undergrad, so we're graduated. So I plan on getting back into this to record more episodes within the near future. But my first guest back on, Autumn. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good today. How are you?
Well, like I said, we just graduated. So actually, I graduate technically. I walk on Friday, but man, it feels weird to be done. Like, it's kind of weird, like not having any of their schoolwork. I know we were talking a little bit beforehand, but I know you have a few more assignments to get through.
Yep, I've got a couple more and then I'm good for this semester.
There you go. All
This
right. Well,
close to being
yeah.
done.
Well, listen, I believe in you. You'll get that done. So, this kind of actually kind of hops right nicely into it. So you mind telling us about, for everyone that doesn't know you, like, where you're from and your major, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. I'm Autumn Weber. I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I actually went to Salisbury High School, which is
Hmm.
a little bit smaller, but I'm a chemistry and chemical engineering dual major, and I'm a sophomore currently.
So soon to be a junior. Wow. And then you've already made your mark pretty much within the especially the chemistry department. So kudos to you. Um, oh man, Allentown. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm from King of Prussia, so I know where
Oh, yeah.
Allentown is, but man, you're far away. Have you been to campus recently, or are you gonna?
Um, I stopped up yesterday. I'm actually going to be doing Circo on campus. So
Gotcha.
I
Okay.
stopped up to get my key, but I'm actually back at home because I'm going to get my second shot to get vaccinated.
Oh, that's awesome. How'd you feel after the first dose?
I was pretty good, honestly. I had a little bit
Yeah.
of soreness, but I was lucky.
Did you ever have COVID?
I
Did
didn't
you?
actually.
Okay.
I've actually been a bit of a shut-in since the whole thing started.
No problem, no qualms with that. I got the first dose. I had COVID back in like the first or second week of September, and I was in quarantine for 10 days within my house. It's kind of interesting because I have four other roommates. One of them got it, and three of them didn't. So I don't even know how that's possible. My symptoms included like night sweats and like a fever for like one night, and then I was good. But after I got the first dose, I got the same exact symptoms as I when I actually had COVID. And then people say that the second dose is like way worse, but I didn't experience anything on the second dose. So I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. Are you worried at all?
I was a little concerned because I keep hearing that the second dose is the stronger one, but
Yeah.
I figure it wasn't too bad the first time. I should be okay the second time.
I only got it because like I think there's gonna be a point where it's like you can't get on a plane or you can't go to school without the vaccine. So I was like, screw it, let's just get it done with.
Yeah, no,
So
it's important for me to get vaccinated because my brother is actually diabetic, so he's
mm,
definitely an at-risk group for stuff.
yeah.
So, I'd feel really awful if I gave him it. So,
Yeah, for sure. So good for you. All right. So you said you're heading down to Widener to do your circa. So for those who don't know, circa is the summer undergraduate research and creative activities, basically a platform for undergraduate students to do their research. So we'll get right into it. So do you mind telling us, what your research is, and
sure.
why that's
So
important? Go for it.
I actually have two research endeavors I'm doing now, but
Oh,
one I'm fairly new to. So the one that I just started is with Dr. Mafia, who's both a teacher here and at Manhattan. And he actually used to be the head of the chemical engineering department. So he's been doing some research with zeolite catalysts on actually breaking down waste plastics into usable hydrocarbons. So we're looking at the catalyst ZSM5, and I'm actually going to be working with him to use the program Aspen HYSYS to design sort of a plant process for how that could be done on a full scale level.
I
So
thought, okay, I was going to say, because I thought he did theoretical stuff, but is he,
yeah,
okay.
he does. We're partnered with Dr. Gaffney, who's
Mhm.
part of the Department of Energy in Idaho, who's been doing and leading some of the actual research.
I remember him talking about that in one of our process design classes. What is zeolite? Do you know what it is off the top of your head? Like, I know it's
Um, yes. So the easiest way for me to explain it actually is to think of a sponge
okay.
because it's essentially a very very large network of molecule, or rather one molecule built in a repeating pattern of various sized holes, and because of that, it selectively allows different molecules in to get catalyzed. And they have a variety of different uses in all sorts of fields,
Mhm.
but our focus with them is to help in pyrolysis to break down waste plastics.
Okay. And so have you, I mean, I know you're new to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So like, is there like current research being done on this? Like, because it seems to me, if you wanted to ask a chemical engineer to come in and kind of upscale this, I would assume that there's already been some research at least done on the micro scale to see that this actually works. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yes, definitely. We have a lot of research on the micro scale,
Okay.
but so far as I'm aware from current papers, nobody has run anything more than what we'll be doing currently, which is sort of a design or a small scale test. So
Right. So,
it's
I mean,
exciting to be at the forefront of that research.
gotcha. Okay, so it does work at the micro scale. So now basically what you're going to try and do is do that at the macro level, like take in like a
Yeah,
bunch of plastics. Okay.
yep, what we're doing is trying to do the design of something that can be done sort of at a much larger level and prove that, it could be done large scale.
Are you familiar with Aspen and HYSYS at all, or?
I am actually. I
Okay.
had Dr. Mafia for my thermodynamics course, so he
Okay.
introduced Aspen HYSYS a little bit. So
Okay. So
yeah.
for the and now are Aspen and HYSYS, I forget, are they the synonymous or are they two different programs?
So
They're kind of within one.
Aspen actually, so far as I understand, bought out HYSYS
Okay.
a while ago, and so Aspen is just a host of programs for all sorts of theoretical design and stuff like that, but
Right.
HYSYS specifically is the plant design and sort of like chemical reactions like that, so far
Yeah.
as I'm aware.
Yeah, so for those who aren't aware, so HYSYS is a program within Aspen, and basically the program is a computer. It's a computer that allows you to theoretically design chemical plants that chemical engineers use within their classes or if they're doing theoretical research. So that's really interesting. Um, Now, I know you're new to this, but are there certain types of plastic that you guys are looking at, or like
Um,
everything?
Currently, we're just looking at everything, but
Mm.
I know from sort of the recent research I've read up on that various plastics work better than others. I know definitely HDPE, high density
Yeah.
polyethylene, I believe,
Yep.
and low
HCP. Yeah.
density
Mm.
both work much better than some other ones. And like, for example, PVC,
Mm.
it doesn't tend to work well in pyrolysis because of the chlorine,
Yeah.
which makes it very difficult to deal with.
Well, I'm excited to see what you come up with. I assume you haven't even has Dr. Mafia made a program at all, or you guys basically starting from scratch?
He has, I think, the basis of a program, but we're going to work with it and figure out exactly how we should do it because
Right.
we've had debate over how many steps or stages we should have in it and what temperatures we should run things at. So hopefully, we'll be able to get the most theoretically efficient plan.
What's in the program? Like what kind of equipment do you have in there so
Um,
far?
let's see. I'm trying to remember. I'm
That's fine.
sorry.
And, also too, real quick,
Yes.
is it like solid state plastics? Like, are you just like throw in like a plastic bag? Is that how this works? Or do you have to get it like how does it work?
Um,
I don't really understand how it works.
I don't actually know exactly how we're doing it for ours, but I know
Okay.
in general, it's typically you take solid plastics and they normally get ground up or minced before
Okay.
being thrown into the process. But yeah,
Gotcha. Okay.
you do start at solids, which is
Gotcha.
nice.
Okay, so you start at solids and then you heat it. You just
Yep.
throw it in. You heat
You
it and then
typically,
throw it in
yeah,
zeolite and then call it a day.
yeah, you heat it up and then you throw it sometimes under pressure, although ours is just being done at atmospheric pressure.
Okay.
And then at different temperatures, typically around 350 degrees Celsius, but perhaps higher. And then you throw in the catalyst, and then that creates various fuel components.
Mm.
And one of the interesting things in using the zeolite catalyst, especially ZSM5, is that you can sometimes get aromatics out of it
Mm.
in fairly large quantities, which is nice.
Okay.
And then after that, we would have to separate
Gotcha.
the resulting hydrocarbons out then. But yeah.
What I'm curious to see is what you'll find is like when you throw it into the program, what you'll get out of it. Like, is HYSYS going to know what, or do you have to input? Like, do you know exactly what you're getting? Like, or like, are there going to be
Um,
byproducts or
no, we actually don't. Well, we have to
kind
get
of?
that from our separate research. I know we're
Gotcha. Okay.
partnered with another university. I couldn't tell you who they are off the top of my head, but they've done research into the process and sort of what components come out of it. And then we'll have to do that and tell HYSYS what goes in and what comes out. That way we can figure that out.
Gotcha. Well, I'm excited to see what you come up with this. This sounds really cool. I never thought I would do like some sort of chemical engineering research, but good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, now to be honest, I didn't either. Dr. Mafia actually reached out to me over email and said he was doing this research and asked if I'd be interested in helping out. So.
Yeah, well, good for you. Go get him. So I'm excited to see what you figure out. I'll have to bring you back on maybe in the future, and you say we'll figure out what you find. So what's the second one? What's the second one you got?
So my second research, and the research that I actually started about this time last year is with Dr. Martin. So we're actually partnered with Tri-State Bird Rescue and Research in order to find the best detergent for cleaning the oil off of bird feathers. So this might take a bit of background, but
that's fine. Listen, I got time. So
okay. So essentially, in sort of oil spills or whatnot, oil coats all over the bird's feathers, and one of the biggest concerns with that is hypothermia. Whether or not you'd think that just by looking at the birds, but so what we'd like to do is efficiently clean the oil off of those feathers. And Tri-State had partnered with DuPont to do this about, I want to say 30 years ago. It was the 1990-91 trials. And they're looking to get an update on sort of the best detergents to use for this. So they gave us, I want to say 20 something unknowns, and we've been testing. And the current result of that is that we have 3 detergents that we believe are the best. And we've been using the testing actually just with common oils so far. So we've used various vegetable oils like safflower or olive oil. And then we also use mineral oil. But the next phase is actually replicating DuPont studies, because they use a synthetic blend of oils, which contains all sorts of various and sometimes hard to find hydrocarbons. Also, we've got some like endodecane and some octanes, and we've even got naphthalene in it, which you might know from mothballs. It's got quite the pungent aroma. But we're going to be testing with that to see how well that blend works. But we were also lucky enough to get 2 crude oil samples from Monroe Oil Refinery. So we'll have actual crude oil fractions that we can test on the feathers as well, in addition to using our synthetic blend.
Was this all last summer, or is this like?
So up until last summer, we had done all of our testing with common oils.
Gotcha. Okay.
But up until the fall and actually the spring, it took us to get the synthetic oils together. But during the fall, we did receive the crude oil fractions, and I did some initial testing with it.
Okay, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna follow myself, but I'm also gonna try and break it down for like the listeners. So
yeah, definitely.
So last summer, you and your group were handed 27 unknown detergents, right?
Yep.
And I guess you dipped a bird feather in some common oil, and then you scrubbed it down with the detergent. Is that?
Yeah, so we coated the feathers in oil, let them sit, and then we put a little bit of detergent on them, sort of rubbed it up, and then rinsed it off.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then so of those 27, 3 of them worked really well?
Yes, we had 3 that worked definitely the best. And in addition to we did some testing regarding the weight on the oil, on the feathers, to see how much of the oil remained. But in addition to that, we actually found that a qualitative ranking from 1 to 3 gave us a very good idea, because I can't quite show a graphic, unfortunately.
That's okay.
But like a clean feather looks like you'd expect a normal feather to look. It's very like bright and puffy. But a lower ranked feather, actually, you can see sort of the oil on it, and the feather is sort of unnaturally clumped.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you so you did qualitative research, not really necessarily.
Yes, we did the qualitative portion last summer.
Gotcha. Okay. So then this term, I guess you got some synthetic oils, a synthetic oil blend.
Yep.
And then you tested those 3 of them that were successful in the previous trials on those feathers.
Yes, that's what we plan on doing for the So DuPont actually had a whole procedure using this synthetic oil blend and a rotovapor and all sorts of other things. So since we couldn't replicate that last summer, we did qualitative testing. And
Gotcha,
now
okay.
since we have the oil blend, we're going to repeat what they did verbatim.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there a reason why are you just replicating it for like, is it kind of for experimental purposes, like saying, hey, look, we replicated this data, it's pretty valid? You
Yes,
know what I mean?
that's one of the things because there really isn't much research out there besides the DuPont studies.
Hmm.
So we're hoping to add to that body of research by replicating the DuPont studies, but also in them we found quite a few concerns,
Right.
including the fact that they added their internal standard for the GC before rotovapping, which we found interesting from an analytical standpoint. Dr. Fisher-Drawis actually commented on that particularly.
Yeah.
So we want to repeat their study and validate their findings, but also do separate testing on our own to show that there might be an easier way to do this testing because unfortunately one of the big issues with why this hasn't been repeated a lot is that it's very cost prohibitive
Mm.
because getting all of the hydrocarbons isn't exactly cheap. So if we can find a better way to do this research and still get valid results, we'd be very much interested in that because then more people would be able to do the research easily.
Interesting. It's interesting that they added the internal standard before GC. But okay. For those who don't know, GC just stands for gas chromatography, which is a separatory function for if you had like a compound you wanted to separate it, you could put it through a gas chromatographer, and then it would separate it, and it would tell you what it. Well, can't tell you what it is, but it does separate it. Well, interesting. Cool. So, what are the so this summer you got the crude oil. That's what's going to be done this summer.
This summer we'll be doing the synthetic blend, and I hope to
Okay.
also get to do the crude oil fractions. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And so how'd you get into this research? Let's kind of take a step back. Like
So
what?
actually, I want to say after we were told that we had to leave campus last spring, the day before I had to leave, I happened to be in the chemistry department and I was talking with Dr. Dow and I said, I'd like to get interested in summer research. I'd been thinking about it for a little while. I was wondering, like, is this something I can do? And he actually told me I should check out the posters and then talk to any faculty that were there. So the first person that I went to was Dr. Martin, the head of the chemistry department
Mm.
at the time. And I stopped at her office and she happened to be there and I just asked what sort of research she had. And then she told me she was currently doing this research and asked if I could be a part of the team. And then, that's how I got here.
Ah, nice. Did you ever see yourself like doing like? Can you even imagine like a year and a half
No,
ago? Yeah.
I never had thought this would be where I was at actually. A year and a half ago, I was thinking I would be very much just chemical engineering and go on the co-op track.
Right.
But I figured, we got sent home with COVID and like this was an opportunity to do something. And all I had to do was talk to professors and see if there was a way that I could do it. And professors here, especially at Widener, are more than happy to help if you reach out to them.
Right.
So, I got involved in it and I figured at the time, well, it's summer research. It'll give me something to do and I'll be able to decide if I actually want to be a chemistry major.
Hmm.
And I'm very glad I did it because now I realize that I really love chemistry and that sort of lab work is certainly something I enjoy.
That's awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. It's kind of crazy, like what can transpire if you just ask, honestly.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, uh, what are the so this summer you're doing circa with well two projects. It's kind of crazy, honestly. I got to do like you'll be in the lab for what a few hours and then
I'll
you go
probably be
home.
in the lab for most of the day and then I'll also work in the Aspen HYSYS. I'm not necessarily sure because we're all sort of remote for that project,
Hmm.
whether or not we'll be meeting daily or just weekly like we've been doing. So I figured that the timing on that will hopefully be more flexible, but I do actually hope to work extended hours in the lab again because it would definitely be enjoyable to work beyond the typical scope of Circa, which of course requires filling out a form so that they know you're allowed to be in the labs late. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the lab and I'd like to spend a lot of time in that. But since I don't necessarily have anything else going on over the summer, I'm more than confident that I can easily dedicate myself to getting two research projects done.
Sure. What's been like your favorite part about doing research in general? What's been like your least? I shouldn't. Well, I'll say yeah. What's like been like your least favorite thing?
My least favorite thing. I don't know, actually. I've really enjoyed all of it. If anything, I'd say the fact that every time you do research, you get more research. There hasn't been a single thing that I've started doing research on that hasn't opened like 5 or 6 different lines of inquiry afterwards. So,
It's
like,
hard to keep track. It's like you open up one door and it's like there's three more you got to go down now.
yeah. So there are just so many things I'd like to look at, and I know there's not enough time in the world to learn everything. So the hardest thing is definitely realizing that there's always more research to do and having to pick what you have to prioritize.
That's a good way of putting it. What's been like your favorite thing?
My favorite thing for sure has just been the overall experience of it. So for me personally, I enjoy just working in the lab setting. I
Mm.
found that to be it's something I enjoy, but also getting to work as part of a team on things and to apply all of the chemistry that I've learned. So, I had just done general chemistry in last spring, but then I went into the summer and I can immediately apply all of the things that I learned in that chemistry course. And I got to use it on something that like I can understand because especially as like a freshman or even as a sophomore, if you're reading the research posters up in the hallways, sometimes it really doesn't make much sense to you, especially not before taking organic, that's for sure. But being able to be a part of research that like I could understand from the get-go
Mm.
was really cool, but also just being a part of the team because I worked with James, although he was also doing some macrocycle research with Circa, and I worked with Noah Spiriglio and Tyler Apple on this, and sort of the three of us worked on the research at the same time. So that was really cool. That sort of, in addition to just me doing the research, I got to be a part of a team, and we all sort of got together and discussed. And it was nice to have that sort of sense of community in researchers.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think I never was able to work within a team for research, but I know. I think one of the crazy things for me is you realize how much you actually do know. Like, it's kind of crazy to think about. Like when you, because have you done any like presentations yet at all? Like I assume you did like circuit symposiums, but
Yeah, I presented at Circa and I was also at Anchor, although I didn't really get anyone to visit, so I didn't present for that. But no,
yeah,
I was also did a presentation for Honors Week.
yeah.
It was the first one on Monday. That was nerve-wracking.
Well, how'd that go?
Eh, it went all right, I think.
I don't want to bash Anchor. I don't want to transpire, and I don't want to spiral into that. I'm bashing that because
Nah,
that was not.
yeah,
Yeah, that was.
that was a little bit sad this time for
Yeah,
sure.
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that off the camera. But
That sounds good.
um, yeah, I think it's crazy that how much like you're in the lab doing your work, and it's like you're putting this paper together, you're putting a poster together, you're talking to your advisor, and then you have to present in front of people who have no idea what you're talking about or like have no idea what your research is, and it's like you have to explain it to them, and then you realize how much you actually know. It's like, wow, I actually do know a lot, and I think that's super
Yeah, no,
relieving.
that's
You know?
definitely one of the really nice things is that sometimes you get in this and you start not knowing any of the terms and you learn them all, and then eventually it becomes sort of thing where you feel sort of like an amateur in the field, but then whenever you have to explain it to people who don't know about it, it's incredible because you
Yeah.
feel like you're the in-house expert on that then.
Hmm. Let me ask you this. We'll pivot here a little bit. Any misconceptions that maybe you've heard coming in as a freshman or maybe as a younger student in general about, chemistry and chemical engineering, or has it all been like kind of hunky dory for you?
I think most of the things have been hunky dory, although I would I would certainly say that if you're a chemical engineering major and you can get the dual degree, do it. There's literally no reason that I wouldn't. And I'd say I found that the chemical engineering department is definitely more reserved, and the chemistry department, while they may seem very eccentric for sure, they're
Yeah.
definitely really nice and they're always around. So like you'll see them in the hallways in the chemistry department. And if you're a chemical engineering major anyway, you'll be around that hallway anyway taking chemistry classes. So, it's really nice to have that sort of fostered sense of community there too that you get with having the dual degree. So I'd say don't be afraid of the chemistry teachers. Definitely get to know them.
Isn't it kind of crazy how like when you came into Widener, like how much things have changed? Like when you came, like what was your reason for coming to Widener in the first place?
So I wanted essentially something small because my high school, Salisbury, was very small. I think there were little over 100 of us in our graduating class.
Hmm.
So I was used to about 20 some people in a class at the most. So it was really important for me to find somewhere that was small and felt good. And I know this is the impossible metric that everyone talks about, but no one is really able to quantify, is that feeling of sort of when you get onto campus, you kind of have an idea of whether or not you know it's going to be a right fit or whether or not it has potential. And I think going onto the campus and meeting with some faculty and whatnot, I kind of got the sense that maybe this wasn't perfect for me, but I could definitely find a place here. And the more I've gotten to be a part of the campus, I found that it really is a great place. And in retrospect, I don't think I would have liked going anywhere else. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That's an awesome way of putting it. I know you're only a junior, but I want to ask this anyway. Like, what do you want to do with your degrees, and like where do you see yourself after you graduate?
So I hope I'm not offending you with this, but I actually plan to get my initial degrees. I think a bachelor, and perhaps I'll do the 4+1 and get the master's in chemical engineering.
Yeah,
And
that
I just
offended
like to
me.
go into lab work. So I know there are so many outlets to go and get further chemistry research and be a PhD, but I really like kind of what I've been doing with circus. So I'd like to start doing that research. And the one thing, unfortunately, that I've heard about all the PhD stuff is that eventually you get relegated to the point of having to like manage grants and paperwork and stuff like that. And like I want to be in there doing the lab work. So I figure I'd like to go into industry and start doing that. And then once I'm there, I figure I can always go back and further my chemistry research if I'd like to.
Hey, you're not offending me. As long what I ask for is you do stuff that you love. If you do that, that's what you care. If it happens to not be chemistry, well, that's all right. You're not offending me. I will say though that you have to manage grants and stuff like that if you're researching under someone who doesn't have like who is an associate professor, or like isn't like the top person. Like if you're researching under like the head of the chemistry department who already has tenured and like stuff like that, you don't have to really
Yeah.
worry about grants, stuff like that. But hey, if you like doing chemical engineering and you like all that stuff, that's all you. I want to stay away from Aspen and HYSYS personally. I don't like computer programming, but
Yeah, now
if
my dad does a lot of stuff. He actually does IT architecture, so
mm,
I've been familiar with computers my whole life. But I can say for sure. I mean, this is, I guess, similar to last year. This is sort of my testing year for chemical engineering to figure out how much I like that. But at the end of the day, I definitely want to be doing chemistry stuff. I really don't think I could stand being behind a desk or a chair all day. I'd like to be up in the lab doing different things and learning.
I mean, I will say there's a lot of chemistry that you're doing in your chemical engineering research. I mean, like
Oh
that.
yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, a catalyst that breaks down plastics like that is as bad as chemistry as it can get, really. I mean, so
Yeah, it's really nice to see the intersection because at least for me personally, when I was in high school, I figured, oh, I'll be an engineer. Okay, what
yeah.
kind of engineer do I want to be? I guess I'll go chemical. And like I didn't really have a good sense of what did what or how they related, and I still, even up until starting this research, wasn't quite sure what a chemical engineer was or what they did. But it's nice to see that there's an intersection between it. And now my sort of general way of putting it is that chemists do the small scale and the micro, and chemical engineers work on taking that and making it more macro. So it's sort of interesting to learn that there's a relationship between the two, and that they actually, at the basis of it, they both use very important chemistry, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the when I was like going to Widener to get my degree and like looking at colleges and stuff like that, one person put it to me is like chemists work in the science, like they're doing research on the micro scale, like and then chemical engineers, they'll come in and how can we apply this science? So it's like applied sciences, and it's really the simplest way to put it. But I mean, I'm excited to see what you're gonna do. Any advice that you have for like prospective students or like future students in general?
Yeah, the best thing I can say is reach out. you know, so far as I mean, I haven't had a single bad experience, and I doubt you will talking to any college as a prospective student or as a first year or anything like that. Just reach out to the faculty, to the staff, anyone. If you have an interest in doing something, or you even just want to give it a try, talk to somebody. If they don't know how to do that or how to help you, they'll definitely point you to someone who can. And, you know, it doesn't hurt to give different things a try, and I know teachers are more than happy to help with that. Like, I wouldn't be especially a part of all the organizations and clubs I'm on campus, and I certainly wouldn't have ended up in leadership roles or anything either, too, if I hadn't just been like, you know, I'll give it a try, I'll see how it goes, and, you know, if I find that I didn't like something, I could always give something else a try. But at the end of the day, you're not really going to get too many opportunities like where someone just out of the blue emails you and offers to be a part. You have to go and at least ask. And, you know, if showing up in somebody's office randomly and being like, hey, is there anything I can do to be a part of this, is going to get you really awesome opportunities, there's no reason not to give it a try. That's for sure.
Dude, 95% of the faculty here at Widener 2 will literally like take you in with open arms. Like if you just show up to the door and ask them. But Autumn, it was awesome having you on the show today. It was really good talking to you. I haven't really talked to you like this one-on-one, so it was really good getting to know you.
Thank you for having me today.
It was really good getting to know you. I'm excited to see what you do this summer. I look forward to, you know, seeing your poster, your presentation at the end, and all your results, and then you're going to put in the work to get that thing done. Thank you again for joining. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back for episode 21. See you, everyone.
Then you're left in the dust, unless I stuck by you. You're a sunflower. I think your love will be too much, or you'll be left in the